Hi guys, good morning, welcome to episode number 33. 33 is the magic number. Shout out to No Agenda of the RDO podcast. As always, you with the Auto Bros, Jason and Alex Von Cannell. How are you this week, my brother?
I'm sore, I slept funny.
You slept funny?
Yeah, I'm sore. And because I get a solid 10 hours too, if I sleep funny, it really hurts.
Yeah, fair enough. I actually had a really good sleep last night. So Nate Dogg, he has been going through a bit of a rough patch lately because he's teething again. So obviously he's got more teeth coming through, but it looks like he's got some of the ones coming through at the back, and the ones at the back are more painful because obviously they're bigger. So he's been a bit ordinary, but last night he was really, really good. But speaking of Nate, so we've been speaking about measurements a lot lately.
Yep.
So I was finally...
Some measurements are bigger than others.
Yep.
Some are smaller.
Correct. That's how measurements work. Some are large, some are small.
Some of them are large in the right areas, and some of them...
Like bone density.
And some of them are in the wrong areas.
I'll see you next scam, bro. Anyway.
Yeah, not scared.
So, am I scared?
No, I'm not scared.
Right. So speaking of measurements, so obviously with kids, they do measurements as you go. Shut up, computer. And so he's now just under 14 months. So he's normally supposed to get his 12-month vaccinations and measurements at 12 months, but because he'd been sick a few times, we delayed them until he was better before we got his vaccination. So we're not anti-vaxxers, not with this particular vaccine run anyway.
I wish you didn't even say that word. That is obviously going to get us shadow.
Dude, we're not big enough to get shadowed down off YouTube. YouTube
know.
doesn't care. So, and it's the same people that watch every week anyway. So
yeah, I know, because we're not getting pushed to anyone else.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, let's blame that on
I will say though, I do a very conscious effort not to try and say the trigger words, and then you just go.
Yeah, but there's videos that show up on my feed that even have anti-vaxxer in the title every single day. I don't think that that's a trigger word, because anti-vaxxer, if you're going leftist media, YouTube would push videos that are anti-vaxxer. So I don't think there's a problem.
Okay.
Anyway, so Nate got his vaccinations and also got his measurements done. And they've got, they give you a little red book right at the beginning when you leave the hospital when they're first born, which you can log everything in. But they do three main measurements. So first is head circumference. So his head circumference was 48.5 centimeters, which is in the 92nd percentile. His height, 82.5 centimeters, which is bang on the 97th percentile. And his weight was 11 kilos, which is about the 70th percentile. So in other words, he's going to be tall, he's going to be lean.
Right.
So, very happy with those measurements so far. Very good basketballer's build.
Do you have to get, so in terms of that 70% off for mass, do you have to bulk him a little bit?
No.
Okay.
I think if you're getting down below 30 to 20 percentile, because the thing is, those measurements are just singular, they're not based on each other. So it's not like a body mass index thing, for example, where based on his height, he's a certain weight. It's just based on kids of that age.
I see.
So you could have a smaller child who might be, only 8 kilos, which is a significant difference, but they'll be in the lower percentile, but they could be short too. So it's not like you have to actually bulk them up or anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it just shows that he's going to be tall, really, which makes sense. I'm relatively tall and Amanda's relatively tall.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's probably going to be a big kid.
Good golf swing.
He could have a good golf swing.
Power.
Yeah. Takes after his daddy with his drive length.
Yeah.
Fortunately not his uncle.
I'll teach him his short game then.
Yeah, you should.
The ones that count.
Or we should get our old man to teach him the short game.
Yeah.
Because our old man's short game is pretty good.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, we got to set up golf again.
Yeah, I was only just talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
And I also,
So shout out to Rob, we'll play golf again soon.
What inspired me was watching Leslie Nielsen's
Oh yeah.
What is
the
it?
golfing instructional video?
Yeah, we don't play was it? We don't play bad golf. I can't remember what it was, but we'll put a link to it. It is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's from like the 1990s or something, and he does this instructional video about how to play golf.
Yeah.
And it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's so
gold.
good. It's 45 minutes, like it's a full thing.
It's long, but it's brilliant.
I posted up on my Facebook the other day. I don't know if you saw it, which was like, sportsmanship is as important to golf as penmanship is to stock car racing.
I agree with that too.
Yeah. What do you say? Why? If you look at your hands on your backswing, you will only find out two things. One is that you're holding the club, and two, what hand your glove is on. It's genius.
Oh yeah,
it is genius.
He's one of the goats as far as comedy goes.
He's famous for saying not funny things in a not funny way that somehow makes it funny.
It's just the complete deadpanning of it, like because it's not fun things all the time. It's just dumb things. But didn't he get like pulled? Like, wasn't he just working on set or something? Wasn't actually an actor when he got his first gig?
No, I believe he was an actor in as a drama series. It was a cop in a drama series.
Yeah, okay.
And as his first gig, and then
yeah,
I think someone got him to say something funny, and he's really good at it.
Because was it Airplane?
Yeah, Airplane.
Was that the first one?
That was the first big movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Airplane would have been. Yeah, that's hilarious. Anyway, go back on it.
Yeah, Leslie, go deep dive into Leslie Nielsen because he is one of the goats of comedy movies.
Speaking of content, I started watching the Snyder cut of what's it called?
Justice League.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. So I don't know the full story about this, and someone might be able to correct us, but what I believe happened was he supposed to make the original one, and something happened halfway through and he couldn't finish it, so they had to get someone else to finish it?
Got no idea. It was probably halfway through he realised that the original one was dog shit, so he didn't want to put his name on it.
Well, then the fans said, no, we want to see your version of it. And they pushed so hard that they allowed him to create this Snyder cut. So that's pretty cool. Like, the fans can...
So how did they do it? Did he just recut the old footage together?
Yeah, and added some scenes and...
Right.
It sucks.
Like, I'm just imagining, because I've been watching so much Cole Dunnigan stuff lately. I'm just imagining like the added scene. Like, surely you're not pulling out all the big stars, paying them the big money to get them just to film a couple of scenes here and there. So I'm just imagining him cutting in parts of him playing other characters with the face swap.
Well, no, don't forget that, like in a movie, there's probably 20 times the amount of footage that's filmed that's not used.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's 4 hours long, so he got the opportunity to delve in a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Some of the storylines, like the Cyborg. Have you seen Justice League?
I think so, but again, I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but it just seems so memorable to me because it was terrible. Which is such a shame because they've got great characters. Like, they're great characters with great backstories. Like, they should be able to make those movies as good as the Marvel films, but they just missed.
Well, I think the problem is that Marvel is just so good. They've just really redefined what a good movie
should be. Yeah, they've set the bar really high.
But Snyder tries to be, like, real artistic. So he does these scenes, and he has these, like, really bad music. Or there'll be a scene like Aquaman jumps in the water, and just 4 ladies out of the blue is like, oh, yeah. For like 6 minutes, and like
yeah. So what you're saying is, like, if Aquaman's jumped in, is it underwater while this thing is going on?
No, they're on top of the water.
So they're actually there. It's not just music in the background.
They're singing it. The townspeople, these 4 ladies, are singing it, and then one of the ladies picks up his jumper that he'd just taken off. So remember when there was a scene when he rescues a sinking boat, right? And he slams the guy on the table, goes, give me a whiskey, his shout, drinks a whiskey, and as he leaves, he takes his jumper off and jumps into the water. Well, then these things are singing, and then one of them picks the jacket up, which is fine. Don't show the sniff scene. They showed it. They showed it. So she goes like, sniffs Aquaman's jumper.
And he just smelled like fish. Surely.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah.
You'd think so. Or just wet dog.
It smelled like someone left tuna in the pockets.
Yeah. So, yeah, the artistic part,
That's
and then,
good
like,
cricket.
whenever they get to Themyscira, or whenever they're talking about, like, Wonder Woman or her world, that music's like,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay.
It's the same chicks just
Yeah.
standing in the background.
Shut up. So it sucks. Like,
Yeah.
now they changed some of the visual effects on it to ramp it up, but
More explosions.
they literally just went over bling. Like, there's the enemy, and I can't even remember what the enemy's name is, but I didn't think he was a bad looking character in the original, and then they just covered him in like chrome needles that kind of move, and I'm like, okay, so you literally just tried the blingiest thing you could possibly do to make the visually appealing.
Acupuncture man.
It was like that. It was like that. So I didn't make it the whole way through. I'm like 2.5 hours in.
Yeah.
It
Are
sucks.
you going to continue?
I'll finish because I'm committed to it.
Yeah.
I'm committed to it. I don't quit. So
It's just one of those things where I just go like, so sure. So there's like you said, like you're filming a movie. There's always going to be hours of unused footage. That footage is unused for a reason, typically. So you got to think, Justice League already wasn't a good movie.
yeah.
So, but that's the stuff they kept in.
Yeah, but I get why they went that way. They thought, okay, so it sucked because of this. I'm sure Snyder was on to begin with, and it changed. I think that's the story.
Right.
So people saying that it sucked will blame that as the thing, because usually a director would try and see the whole project through. It just wasn't the case. Well, I can tell you that Zach didn't help it. He didn't help it at all.
And the thing is though, like if you were a real director who was trying to put his stamp on something, wouldn't you just refilm it and do it differently?
But you can't in 2020. You can't. Everything stopped. It was practically impossible.
So what you're saying is what it really is a cheap cash grab for trying to get people back in to spend money when they had nothing else.
It was fan pushed. So the fans wanted it. And I'm happy that the fans got it. And I likened it to, because fans have never really had a say before. No one really cared what the fans had said. They're quite happy to take the fans' money, but never really push it in the direction that the fans want to go. So I'm happy that this thing happened. And there was a very local version of this where any V8 supercar fans out there, there was a commentator that just didn't get his contract renewed for this year.
Right.
And the fans pushed so hard that they reinstated him.
That's really good.
Yeah, and it just goes to show the power of the people. It's like the Wall Street bets of, like, we need to understand how valuable our voices are as a collective, and we can lobby for some
It's
stuff.
one of the reasons why I like watching the UFC. Like, in the UFC, there's a lot of fighters who, they don't have great records, but they're super exciting every single time they fight. Those guys never get cut because the fans show up to watch those. Like Cowboy Cerrone is a really good example.
Yeah.
He's older now, so he's on the back end of his career. He's lost a couple of fights recently. He's nowhere near title contention. He's the sort of guy that normally the UFC would go, you're being paid too much money because you've been around for too long, and you're not going to win a title, so you cut. He'll never get cut. He'll be able to leave whenever he wants to because fans will tune in to watch him every single time he fights.
What happened to Izzy? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. So the question is, what happened to Israel Adesanya when he went up to face Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title? It was a good fight. He lost by decision. So the things that a couple of people, everyone needs to understand. Going up a weight class to challenge the champion is really difficult to do, typically. But it gets more difficult the higher up the weight classes go, because the gaps between the weight classes get bigger the heavier the guys get. So he was going up, so he was the 185 pound champion and still is. He doesn't lose that just because he lost the fight.
Right.
And he went up to the 205 pound to face their champion.
You could fight in that.
I'd have to cut weight to get into the 205. Like, realistically, if I trained hard and I was going to fight, I would be fighting in the middleweight division, which is 185. So that's like 90 ish kilos, roughly.
You're never getting there.
I could do.
Oh, yeah.
If I was trying to train for a fight
Yeah,
camp, I would be training hard to get down because I don't want to face the monster.
Reduce bone density, that's the easiest way.
Yeah, well, give me some tips on how to lose my bone density, mate. But the thing is, when it comes to fighting, there's a reason why there's weight divisions. Weight matters. Weight makes a big difference. And the thing is that just because you weighed in at a certain weight on weigh-in day does not mean that's what you end up weighing in a fight. So Israel actually weighed in as the lightest ever title challenger in light heavyweight history, where he was like 201 pounds or something like that. And look, even that's on like probably his walking around weight. That's probably roughly what he walks around at. So Jan Blachowicz, on the other hand, is a genuine light heavyweight, has been his whole career. So he weighed in at the 205 limit, but on fight night he was probably going to be 220 pounds.
Yeah.
So you're talking 15 to 20 pound difference on the day. And the thing was, it played out how you would typically expect that sort of fight to play out. So what happened was, Izzy, I would say, took the first round, just scoring more shots than Jan Blachowicz did. It was mainly a stand-up fight for the first 3 rounds. I reckon Izzy got the first, Jan got the second because he was starting to actually make some contact as well. And again, you could see it wasn't a drastic power difference, but there was a difference.
You could tell. Yeah.
You could tell. And I don't know if it was just Izzy trying to be more elusive in that he was probably moving away from a lot of the shots when they landed, so they looked like they were more pronounced when they did. Third round, Izzy won, for sure. That was probably the most definitive.
So who won second?
So Jan won the second.
Okay.
So then you go on the championship rounds. It's a 5-round fight. And in round 4, Jan did the smart thing, which was timed him and took him down.
Yep.
And Jan is a better grappler, I would say, than Izzy is. But again, he's a bigger guy too. So he took him down, didn't do a whole lot of damage, but basically rode top position and did enough damage to ride out probably 2.5 minutes of the round. So Jan wins that one. Now the 5th round was really, really interesting because in my scoreboard it was 2-2 coming into the 5th round. So the 5th round was what was going to take it. And at the beginning of it, Izzy was touching him up. He was doing really, really well. And then you could see Izzy sort of getting into a bit of a flow state where I think Jan was really smart. And look, they were both tired, obviously. But I think Jan looked more tired than he actually was. Izzy relaxed for a split second and bang, Jan shoots for another takedown.
Right.
Takes him down and like pretty much rides him and ground and pounds him until the end of the bell.
Right.
And the thing was, like Izzy is a striker, but you know these guys trained everything, right? But you could just see the weight difference is most pronounced on the ground because if you've got a guy on top of you who's 20 pounds heavier, it's really difficult to get out, and he just couldn't get out.
And Izzy was never going to knock this guy out either, was he?
No, he could have.
Okay.
He's got that power too. So
even at that weight?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know Izzy when he was doing his kickboxing career, because beforehand he was like 95-1 in kickboxing. Right.
That's a lot of fights.
That's a lot of fights. And that's so he's only like I think he was 20-0 in his MMA career coming into this fight, and now he's 20-1. So a lot of people go, oh, he's only had 20 fights. That's not really that many. Well, he's had like 96 kickboxing fights and I think 10 boxing fights as well. So he's got heaps of combat experience. But even in his kickboxing career, he went up and fought heavyweights in kickboxing and knocked them out. So, and his whole thing, it's like when Conor McGregor was at his best. It's not power, it's precision.
Yeah.
So it's hitting people on the right spots.
At the right time.
At the right time. And it's things like, again, a lot of people don't understand like the physics of fighting. So if you can like fake someone so that they come in towards you and then hit them, you're actually doubling the impact. It's like a head-on collision in a car accident. Yep. Whereas if you've got 2 cars, sort of one driving behind the other one, and the one behind you just speeds up a little bit and hits them, it's a completely different level of damage than if those cars are driving towards each other.
Yep, makes sense.
So, though the greatest strikers, the guys who can knock everyone out, are usually the guys who can get the timing down, and they can fool you into taking a step in towards them, and then just time it.
Did I hear something that John Jones is somehow going to... Could John Jones and Izzy fight one day?
They don't like each other, and it's been talked about a lot. And that's kind of the shame about Izzy losing this fight. Is I think if Izzy won this one, his next fight is he probably would have gone up to heavyweight to fight John Jones.
And John Jones will destroy him.
Based off look, it's tricky, right? I'm still interested in watching that fight because the thing is, John Jones is a way better wrestler than what even Jan Blachowicz is.
Yep.
And John he has chosen to go up to heavyweight. So he has just been putting on as much muscle mass as he can over the last, I think, 12 months.
Right.
It's been since he fought last. Now, there's a couple of things that still make this fight interesting. If John wants to just close the distance, take Izzy down and pound him out, he could do that. I don't know if he would, though.
Oh,
Ego-wise,
he'll want to show him.
He will want to strike with Izzy and show that he's the better striker.
Because people are calling Izzy the new Jones, right? Like, he's kind of coined as like the young blood.
He's the first style bender. But yeah, he is the next big thing.
But John Jones just doesn't lose like that.
Well, but in saying that though, like, he's had some really lackluster fights of recent times. So, for example, one of his last fights at light heavyweight was against a guy called Dominic Reyes. And Dominic Reyes is a fairly athletic guy. He's an NFL player, but very athletically gifted. And that went all 5 rounds. And to be honest, at the end of it, I thought Reyes had done enough to win. But John Jones scored it I think it was by split decision, but I can't remember. It might have been unanimous. But I thought, a lot of people thought that Reyes may have won that fight.
Right.
And that Reyes is another guy who, if John wanted to take him down and pound him out, he could have done so.
Yeah.
But for some reason he didn't. Now, whether that's ego and he just wants to touch him up on the feet, maybe. Or maybe John's got some sort of injury which doesn't allow him to wrestle as well as he typically would.
Yeah.
Because the guy's a phenomenal wrestler and his ground and pound's off the chain. So, again, I don't know why it is that John hasn't been going back to his wrestling as much of late.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that you often see this with guys like Jose Aldo, one of the featherweight gods, is a great example where his most brutal technique was leg kicks. The most brutal leg kicks. The guy could have been a professional soccer player. Like, he has the best leg kicks in the game. Absolutely destroyed the legs of so many opponents. And then for his last 3, 4, 5 fights, he just stopped throwing them. So his most powerful weapon he had, he just stopped using. Turns out he's got a hip issue, has to get hip surgery.
Right.
So he can't throw them anymore.
Yeah, okay.
But
so
obviously
there could be something there.
Yeah, so they don't publicise this stuff because obviously then everyone knows that there's a weakness and they'll exploit it. But you see this stuff a lot, and I wonder if maybe that's why John's not doing his wrestling as much, because he's actually got some sort of whether it's a muscle issue or a mechanical issue, because these guys put themselves through wars.
Is John also trying to goad any potential is he having a look at the competitors out there and realising that if he goes that heavyweight, that suits him better, so someone's going to have to fight up to him?
No, so I think the reason why John's moving up is because he's apart from Jan Blachowicz, who they've never fought each other, he's basically cleaned out the whole light heavyweight division.
Right.
Now, interesting, look, people talk about a thing called MMA math all the time, which doesn't necessarily work, but what a lot of people go is they go, fighter A, you got fighter A, B, and C, and fighter A beats fighter B, and fighter B beats fighter C, therefore fighter A is better than fighter C, right? And that doesn't necessarily work. But one of the common opponents that both John Jones and Jan Blachowicz have recently is Dominic Reyes. So he's the last, before the Izzy fight, he was the last guy that Jan beat, and Jan knocked him out in the second round, and knocked him the fuck out too. Like, it was a big shot.
Really?
Yeah. Whereas John, 5-round decision win.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, is that John on the feet doesn't have the power that the other guys have. He doesn't really knock people out. He knocked out Daniel Cormier, but it was with a head kick.
Yeah.
And it's because, and it was interesting, because even before that fight, he had said that Cormier has a tendency to drop to his left. Like, just when maybe there's a feint or something thrown, DC will often just drop down to his left. And John Jones said, I'm going to knock you out the head kick because I know that you dropped down to the left. And this is before the fight. Daniel Cormier was like, no, that's not going to happen. Well, guess what happened? Like, he dropped to the left and he head kicked him in the face. Izzy's not going to fall for that. Like, Izzy's not going to get head kicked by John Jones.
Yeah.
He's too good a kickboxer for that
Sure.
to happen. So, what's interesting about that fight is there is a clear path to victory for John, which is just take him down, hold him down, ground and pound him out.
Yeah.
It's a clear path. But I don't know whether or not he does it, because the thing is, he's had that clear path on his last X amount of fights, but he's chosen to stand on his feet. There's a guy, Thiago Santos, who's like a Muay Thai beast that John fought at heavyweight at light heavyweight. Sorry, again went to a 5-round decision. At no point did John Jones take this dude down and pound him out.
I feel like he needs to just do that in the first round and finish it and really assert his dominance again.
Look, if it was me, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that John Jones is going up to heavyweight now to try to challenge for the heavyweight title, to try to be one of the another double champ in the UFC. Now, I think that's also because him and Daniel Cormier hate each other. Cormier's done that. So now John wants to take that, I guess, bit of legacy away from DC as well.
Yeah.
But there's a really interesting heavyweight title fight coming up. I think it's next weekend, maybe, which is Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou 2.
Okay.
So Stipe is at the moment, he's the heavyweight, he's the GOAT. Like, forget everyone else, because he has fought for and held the heavyweight title in UFC longer than any other heavyweight has, and he's knocked out a who's who of people in the heavyweight division. So he's the best. And Francis Ngannou is the scariest person on the planet.
Yeah.
He is just a giant human being with that much power, but the thing is, he doesn't have the same skill level in certain areas, particularly wrestling, as Stipe does. So when they fought the first time, pretty much everyone was saying that Ngannou was just going to knock Stipe out in the first round. I think I saw a stat the other day where, so since Stipe won their first fight, again by decision, because he played it smart, he's a Golden Gloves boxing champion too, so he was very elusive. And he took some of his shots too, like he got hit, but would just look for his openings, take Francis down, hold him down, pound on him on the floor, and just did it over and over again for 5 rounds. So won a very, very technical fight. I think since then, Francis has had 4 fights and has spent less than 2.5 minutes in the cage.
Wow.
Because every single one, he just bull rushes people and just takes them out in the first round. Now, the problem with that is, when you then go up against the guy who that doesn't work, you have to have a plan B. And the first time around, Francis didn't have a plan B.
Sure.
I know he'll be far better now than he was back then. But Stipe probably will be too.
Yeah.
You know, Stipe's been training. Francis has spent more time in the cage than Stipe has. But, you know, I would still side with Stipe winning this one.
That's a crazy thing. You got to give these guys credit, especially like their training camps, is that you go in with an idea of a strategy that you're going to have, but that you have no idea what the other person's strategy is. So you don't know if they're trying to change it up.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. With certain guys, you can sort of guess. But that's why, like they talk about it all the time, styles make fights. So it's one of the reasons why I find MMA so interesting. Because, like, I'm a basketball fan, for example, right? Or actually, let's go footy. Let's go footy.
Keep
fan.
talking. I'm just going to put that in there.
Yeah, cool. So I'm a footy fan, and so the NRL season's just kicked back off again. Everyone's totally excited about it. Me as a Broncos supporter, I'm not, but anyway. And for so last night the Broncos faced the Titans, and the Titans were red hot favourites, and sure enough, they won by a significant margin.
The Broncos did.
No, the Titans did.
Okay.
The Broncos, we're going to have another long year. We just don't have the depth in our squad to be able to keep up with a lot of the top teams anymore, because it was completely mismanaged for many years by Seabold.
Yep.
So, anyway, now in that scenario, like in the NRL, on any given night, most teams can beat most teams. But that game last night, I mean, I tipped the Broncos because I'm an idiot, but I never should have. There was pretty much a foregone conclusion when they showed up that who was going to win. Because you can't really change that much about, like, you can have different plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot that you can change.
You can't have a systematic change of the way that you go about the sport.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whereas in MMA, you might have a guy who, let's say, is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he just chokes out everyone that he faces. And then what happens is he goes up against another Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and then everyone's expecting it to be this like, awesome grappling match, and they're going to watch two high-level guys try to choke each other out, and it ends up being a 3-round kickboxing fight. Because they know the risks of going to the ground with someone who is as good as them, and also it's probably more embarrassing if you're the guy who's been choking everyone out and then you get choked by someone else. So it's a high risk thing for you too.
That's why I think that Nate should be a golfer. Because that's the most consistent, you know what's expected of you. It's safe. There's more money.
How safe it is.
There's more money.
Where's Tiger?
Yeah.
Tiger's in the hospital, mate.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to drive. He doesn't know how to drive.
It's the Thai side.
Doesn't know how to drive cars. But
cool.
Not having to change your you could develop the perfect there is no perfect martial art because it's constantly fluid.
Yeah,
whereas
which
golf,
I find way more interesting.
For sure. Oh yeah, it's interesting.
And you know what the problem is too? So with golf, there will come a time, possibly in Nate's lifetime, where he'll be playing against robots. And the robot's just going to have the perfect swing. Like the Boston Dynamics guys, they're going to create a golfing robot, and because everyone's talking about inclusiveness these days, they're going to be allowed to compete on the Pro Tour.
Rangefinder with an EMP in it. That's a robotic version of trash talking someone.
Well, no, that's the robot version of killing a golfing rival.
No, it'll come back.
I think that's frowned upon.
It'll come back.
So it's knocking out a rival then?
Yeah, knocking out a rival.
Yeah, which you probably get disqualified for.
Yeah, but if no one saw it, then,
So, yeah, golf's boring, man. Golf is more fun when you suck at it. Because, I know when I step up to the ball, I don't know where the ball's going to go. It's way more exciting.
It is a
Is it going to go straight? Is it going to go in the water? I don't know. It's exciting, right?
But surely you don't want your son... Surely you don't want your son with everything that we know. The way I see fighters are people that have grown up and they got tough and they had to fight because they had to. Because the circumstances in their lives made them go that way. I don't think it should be the ideal choice to go down.
I don't want him to be a fighter at all. But I want him to train.
Oh,
I want him to be able to know what he's doing.
For sure.
And the biggest thing too is that, so you're right, there are some stories where it's some guy's only way out, right?
It's very rarely, I come from a rich family, I gave up a job at a tech company as a programmer, and decided that you're going to be a kickboxer.
Well, for a start, the reason why you never hear that story is because you need to start training from a very early age. You can't. If you're at a point in your life where you can have a good tech job,
Charlie put down his violin at 6 years old and realised that he was destined to be an MMA fighter.
No, well, it happens. George St. Pierre's a really good example. George St. Pierre got into martial arts because he was bullied as a kid. So he wasn't a tough guy. He didn't come from they weren't super well off, but he was just came from a middle class family, but he got bullied at school. So he went into martial arts and excelled at it. And then when he obviously realised how good he was at it, he pursued that as a career pathway. So
I think he's a brilliant he's a brilliant fighter. I wish he could put that same amount of effort into learning the English language.
Well, he can speak French. He can speak enough to communicate.
Barely.
He sounds funny.
He was in Captain America, one of the Captain Americas.
Yeah.
And I reckon, I imagine what his dialogue sheet looked like. It was a blank page.
Well, in fairness, they should have got him to do his lines in French.
I think he did. I think they said he was a French mute terrorist.
This is always the thing that gets me about those movies too, is it's you're going up against some foreign power who speaks English.
Not this guy. Not this guy.
But no, he's one of the GOATs as far as fighting goes.
Yeah.
He is literally one of the greatest of all time. Has been a dual champion because he went up and beat Bisping for the middleweight title as well before he retired. So, he held welterweight for a very long time.
Actually, that kind of segues into something that I was thinking about. I can't remember if we've spoken about this before, but So I would say, fighting is high risk, low reward for the majority, right? It's not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'd say that.
And Tash and I were watching something last night, and they had like carers for disabled.
Right.
The world needs those people.
The carers.
The carers.
Yeah,
The world needs carers.
Mm-hmm.
The world needs nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's such an amicable thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Society does not pay those people.
Right.
And I wonder how do we get to a, like, there are jobs out there that don't deserve the kind of money that they get. So society I want to say society is like the way people feel about stuff. What can I say is the market then decides what someone gets paid, right?
Yeah.
There's so many jobs out there that get paid way too much and provide little benefit to society.
So give me an example.
Truck driver at the mines.
Okay.
Oh, no, like a machine operator in the mines, right?
Right.
It's not a highly skilled job.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably $160,000, $170,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got a nurse working split shifts or, like half day, half night shifts.
Yeah.
I think they're probably on, what, 70 grand? Like, let us know if you...
Mm. Yeah, but I mean,
it's
like, a lot of
70,000.
those, like, mine workers, they're FIFO, they're spending time away from their families. It's potentially more dangerous as far as a job goes, working on those sites. Like that, like, this is the, I guess...
I'd say it's more dangerous working in a hospital.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it?
Pathogens.
Yeah.
Drug addicts.
Yeah.
Like the I don't know what the stats are. That's just me. Like the mines are very safe. Like you do a 45-minute bloody course like every day to make sure that you know where the go here, don't.
Yeah,
go
and I'm not
there.
saying that they're super dangerous jobs, but like and again it's the economics of it, isn't it? It's like mining is a very profitable endeavor to take part in. So the trickle down economics of that is to sell those really lucrative resources. You need to pay people good money to pull them out of the ground.
Yeah, but our health sector is extremely profitable as well. But there's a massive disparity between...
Private's profitable. Obviously, government-run stuff's not profitable.
Yeah, of course.
And look, I see what you're saying. It is a tricky thing because...
Well, how do we get there is my question. So how do we get to a point where there's people that we genuinely need?
Yep.
Which is nurses, carers, those types of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people that like... So that mining resource, we just pull out of the ground and we sell it.
Yep.
Right, so it's to build wealth.
Well, ScoMo's now... Didn't he... I think Rob sent me something where... He's looking at us actually refining it at home. So they've announced some project. I've got to actually look into it. I'm butchering this, but announced some project where they're actually looking at, instead of us, like, because again, what normally happens with our resources, we pull them out of the ground, send them to China. China refines them, and then we buy them back at a more expensive price. And obviously China uses a lot of it themselves. But it looks like ScoMo is actually trying to set up a program where we can do a lot of the refining at home, which
and
again keep it here. But also we can then sell the refined product overseas.
Sure.
So, which is going to be fun.
We won't be able to do it because economically, how can we compete when the process of us doing it here will cost us 5 times what it will cost China to do. Yeah.
Well. Again, this is exactly what your problem is with every part of the economics at the moment. So, for example, with the nursing thing, the only way that you're going to be able to get nurses paid more money is if all the nurses refuse to work for the kind of money they're on. It's the only way. So, like you said, the market dictates the price of all of these things. If all the nurses went on strike tomorrow, or even better yet, did it last year during the crisis... we probably would have thrown more money at them. But again, they're too good a people to have actually done that.
Yeah, that was the feeling that I got, was that there is an there's probably like a bit of an underworld in terms of like money that's made in our society, right? So, and like, you know, being in the crypto trading thing, there's a lot of people that are making significant amounts of money that in an industry that I would say is still frowned upon. So when you go and talk, when you tell people that you're trading on crypto markets, like it's this, you know.
Yeah. But even that reaction to it is manufactured by the establishment.
Yeah, but right? For what benefit? Because I agree with you.
To scare people away from going towards crypto and away from the normal institutions.
There is a lot of that. I spoke to
heaps of that.
I ran into a guy that I went to school with. I haven't seen him for years and years and years. And I told him that I'd started this, and he's like the fear in his eyes. And his words, he goes, "I'll be a wage whore for life."
Yeah.
Because I need to know that money's coming in every week. And yeah, that's been ingrained.
Yeah.
That's been ingrained in us that go and get a gig that's safe and secure and
yeah. But what's that saying? It's the poor people spend money, the middle class people save money, and the rich people invest money.
Yeah.
And so we were both listening to that same Flagrant 2 podcast yesterday where they had a guy
talking about crypto.
That was super interesting. But it also, that actually put in perspective something that I've thought about for the last 12 to 18 months, which is, so you got to think, so obviously Bitcoin price has gone astronomically through the roof in the last 18 months. At the same time, obviously Australia's done JobKeeper, where we have just pumped out all this stimulus money. Where did all that money come from? We probably printed some, I would say. America, at the same time, trillions of dollars would have been printed in the last 12 months.
Yep.
So whilst people are like, oh, Bitcoin's just a speculative asset and it can come down just as fast as it goes up, Bitcoin hasn't gone up. The currencies that it's rated against have just gone down. They've been devalued in that time. So as a store of wealth, Bitcoin is fantastic.
Yeah.
But you're right. You bring up like, you know, I have a few people that message me going like, oh, are you doing some like trading on crypto and stuff? Like, yeah, like just doing a little bit. Because it is a bit of a taboo subject. Because not every, but a lot of the established institutions, like your banks, they're the ones who are circulating all the news stories, which are saying that, you know, it's dangerous or it's used to buy drugs. I watched on Netflix, they have a series called Explained. Have you seen that?
I've seen it listed. I've not watched anything.
Right. So it's an interesting show because they're like 15-minute movies or shows on certain subjects.
Right.
And the other night I watched the one that was on crypto. And the episode had actually come out, I think it was early 2019. It was pretty negative towards crypto. And it mainly talked about things like the Silk Road and people using cryptocurrencies to buy drugs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, what people don't realise who don't know anything about crypto is that crypto actually makes it way easier to track people doing the wrong thing because there's that ledger there that can never be...
Well, I like what that guy said in that pod that we listened to, is that the drug trade, the total amount of money that was moved through the drug trade is 3 times the size of Bitcoin's entire market cap.
That's right.
So, people, sure, you can say it, but the numbers do not support.
That's right. So if you were a government, you would really want people to go to crypto because then you can track everything. And like you were saying too, then you can get your tax paid in real time. Then you can get... One of the things that I thought was super interesting about it was paying your employees. Like using crypto, you could pay them every single day if you wanted to.
I had that idea like 5 years ago, and I wrote a whole business plan of how it would work. And because I had this vision, I thought that the future would be people wouldn't have a job for life.
Yeah.
People would just go and, let's say that you're good at a particular thing, and you would basically freelance. And I wanted to try and create a digital marketplace for your skills,
right?
And basically an app that would run the payments. So let's say, for example, let's just use an example that happens all the time. Your receptionist calls in sick.
Yep.
Okay, so you need a receptionist quick. Well, you could go to your app, fire up. It's basically like a labour hire thing. It's got their resume, digital resume. Right there, it shows that they're available for the day. They've woken up in the morning and said, yep, I'm ready to work. boom, they can push the go button, right? Gives you a map.
Mhm.
You go there, you rock up, you start using the
Yep.
thing, and then at the end of that day, the boss pushes the approve button,
Yep.
and payment, which was already pre-sorted, goes in.
Great idea.
Right, so, and now the technology's there.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what started this conversation, society does not want you to do that.
No.
The majority of society wants you to just go and get in line, get a job, and stick with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that's the safest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? And again, like, you see this stuff permeated through the media, but it comes from somewhere, which is they use fear to control people.
Mm.
So people are anti-cryptocurrencies because they have had fear instilled in them through some form of outside influence. Like when cryptos were first becoming like mainstream, there was no positive press about it.
Yeah.
It was all, this is a bubble, you could lose all of your money. Like, it's all the same stuff as the stock market. Stock market's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, if you invest in the wrong stock, you could lose money.
Yep.
You know? Like me, I've invested in Afterpay and it's gone backwards, but I think it'll come good again.
Like I invested into Hertz and went to zero.
Yeah, well, that's an unfortunate one.
Yeah. Centro Properties Group, that went to zero as well.
Yeah. So
I've had a few of them.
yeah, but you've done really well out of crypto markets, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like any of this stuff, like they use fear to prevent the average person from even starting the research to look at potentially doing something.
Yeah.
You know, because if everyone's standing around the barbecue and 95% of people are going, oh mate, no, that's a scam, don't do that. People don't even go home and do the research themselves. They just go, oh, all my friends think it's a scam, so I'm not going to do it. But then you get major institutions who are investing in it and making a lot of money out of it.
Yeah.
So...
But I can also give you another thing, another byproduct of that is, of that full-time work.
Mm-hmm.
I had a beer with a friend yesterday, and he's been as engaged into crypto for as many years as I have, but just small time.
Mm-hmm.
But he just said to me, like, I can't even think about it because your job occupies so much of your mental capacity.
Yeah.
And I felt exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Although I've been in since 2016, I didn't do a lot of trading because I didn't have the mental capacity to do it.
Exactly. And
I sat on it.
I feel like I have been so much more productive as a human being in the last however many months I've not been working than I was prior to that. Because I was super productive at work before, but work is all I thought about.
Yeah.
I was not productive outside of work.
Yeah.
And I had all the excuses lined up in a row. Worked too many hours, blah, blah, blah. But I'm so much more productive now as a human being than I was when I was working.
That's what I want to say. That's what I want to say to people. So what's a practical, tangible thing that you can do in this regard?
Mm-hmm.
Next time you try and go for a promotion, don't ask for more money. Ask for a day off every week.
Yeah.
Ask for a 4-day work week.
Yeah, ask for better conditions. Ask to be able to work from home one day a week.
No, I'm trying to free it because I guarantee that if you're working full time, if you're working a 5-day week or a 6-day week or whatever sort of hours you're working, if you get that one extra day off, it is worth more than the money that you're going to get.
Absolutely. And I, like when we've been talking about the weight loss stuff at the moment. There was a reason why I got so out of shape.
Yeah.
It's because all my focus was at work, all of it. And it was blinding me to how unhealthy I was getting, because again, so tunnel vision focused on just working, I wasn't keeping track of all of the extra alcohol I was drinking, all of the extra fast food I was eating. Like I was just go, and it was what can I do to survive today so I can get through and do tomorrow, but now
it's like a stripper. What's a stripper that takes drugs?
Yeah.
They take drugs so they can...
Yeah, so they can
it gives them
be numbed so they can then strip for more money and then they end up spending that money on the drugs and it becomes a false economy.
But the world is like that. The normal work week is like that.
That's right.
Grind you into... And then you... A lot of people that are making... So I know I've taken a pay cut. I've taken a pay cut owning my own business.
Yeah.
But I don't feel the need, like I'm more fulfilled
Mm.
because the things that I can do, just being able to have lunch with a friend,
Yeah.
which you couldn't do before.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know.
Yeah.
And when I was working the 60-hour weeks, what would I do? I'd go and buy something ridiculous I didn't need, but just to have it, right? Just to put a reward carrot at the end. Okay,
Yeah.
I've worked so hard, so I'm going to buy myself a toy car.
Yeah.
Right? I've worked so hard, I'm gonna get a new watch or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the thing may be. It's not. That's the same effect.
Yeah, again, they're false economies, and you're not, like you said, you're not setting yourself up to a point where you can ever stop working, and that's a sad feeling. Like, one of the things that we need to consider is that we really need to be in control of our own destinies when it comes to retirement, because there's a very real chance that by the time we get to retirement age, that there's no money left for a pension, and even the pension's dog shit anyway. So if you're relying on that money, like, that's not living. You're not living out your golden years. You're surviving your golden years. It's giving you just enough money to survive on.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
No.
And I've got countermeasures in place. Like,
Yep.
I've got, properties that will pay me quadruple what the
Yep.
pension would be. But what's the saying? If you're working, you're selling your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not investing any of that money, you'll do that forever.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
Whereas you can have, like, and the beauty of, you followed pretty closely my investment journey.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take much to start.
No.
It takes a very small amount of money to start. And poor people, you're doing it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Invest, like, YouTube is free.
Yeah.
Right? Watch the ads.
Yeah.
And get some advice for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there's stuff that you're doing, you can do it. Yes, you don't earn a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money to start.
No.
Right?
But the thing
understand what commodity you do have.
Yeah.
Because you might have a low paying job, but you might not work as many hours as someone else. So you've got time on your side. Use that time, invest in that time.
And if you have a low paying job and you work more hours than everyone else, get a different job.
Yeah.
Like, in Australia, minimum wage is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, again, this gets back to a regular theme that we're getting through all of these podcasts is personal responsibility. And the problem is, if you're the sort of person who is sitting there going, my cards have been dealt to me, and that's why I'm where I'm at, and I can't change that because, like, I was put in this position by external forces. That's the first step to you never changing anything in your entire
you're
life.
destined to fail.
That's right. So you're
Sorry, not fail. You're destined to have what you've got.
Yeah.
And no more.
Exactly right. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always have what you've always had.
Yeah.
Right? So you're right. Like, you actually need to try to go, okay, what can I do to improve my position? What can I invest in? Because the problem is, you'll often see broke people who complain about not getting paid enough at work and this and that and the other. They've still got the latest iPhone. They've still got nice clothes. They've still got Netflix, Stan, YouTube subscription, Foxtel. They still smoke cigarettes. They still drink booze. They still go out and party all weekend. They're still buying bags of Coke. Like,
I'll give you my back in my day story.
Yep.
My back in my day story was when I first started selling cars as a fully fledged consultant. Finished my cadetship. My cadetship went for 18 months, 2 years, or whatever. And I started selling cars. I think at the time I was still living with mum and dad. And I got my group certificate, and it was a good figure. Like, it was way above what normal people, like the average entry level job would have paid.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself. And mum goes, "Yeah, but what do you got to show?" I'm like, "Oh, I've got this sweet motorbike, which I had finance on."
Right.
So I had nothing. And I said, "Okay, no, I'm going to get a property." So I made a concession, because you have to plan, right?
Yep.
I was spending an absorbent amount of money going night clubbing
Yep.
on Fridays and Saturday nights. So all I said is I'm not going to go, I'm going to go once a month, not twice a week.
Yep.
That's all I did,
Yep.
right? Now, health-wise, I was better. I started going to the gym. I was actually looking pretty good. And I got a house deposit in 12 months.
Yeah.
Like that, right? Because I gave something up. Now, everyone can...
Yeah.
everyone's got a little leak in their hull.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. So you just got to identify where the leak is,
Mm-hmm.
patch that leak up, and then you'll watch your wealth grow.
Yeah.
And then now I don't want to say that property's not been the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's cost me a fortune that I've had it. It rents for a very high. I get a very good rental yield out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you do, even though I have a property manager and the property manager is very good, you still have to stay on top of the property managers. Like I'm not saying property's not the thing for everyone, but it's something. And then the idea being in 30 years' time that whatever that rent is, that becomes income.
That's right.
So you find a concession in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was all me. I wasn't waiting. I never said, "Oh, I'll just wait until my job pays me more." Because I give you the tip: once by the time your job pays you more, you'll have some other expense that you hadn't factored in before.
Yeah, everyone, no matter how much money you earn, everyone can find a way to spend it.
Oh yeah.
For sure. And again, a lot of people are like, you know, oh cool, I got a promotion at work. I'm going to go and celebrate by buying myself a more expensive car.
Yeah.
Because to show my level of status, I'm going to buy a more expensive car. And guess what? I'm financing it, which means my finance repayments have gone up. So I need to now have that better job just to pay for my current expenditure.
My saying, I've coined it. I'm trying to get it to stick, so start using it around barbecues.
Mm-hmm.
Financial savviness is not sexy.
No, it's not.
And just understand that it's not sexy. No one gives a shit about my crypto portfolio.
So is that the mindset change that needs to happen? Financial savviness needs to become sexy.
Yeah, I have a plan around it.
Ah, yeah, you do too. We won't go into it.
We won't go into it.
But look, it's something that, you know, it is for me, obviously both our partners are teachers, it is a massive issue with particularly public schooling, is that they don't really teach you about finance and how economics really work.
They're training you for a job.
That's right. They're training you to leave and go and work in a factory somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, whereas, like, and I guess this is, like, for me as a parent, like, one of the conversations I've had with Amanda and I both come from backgrounds where investing wasn't really spoken about. And it is our responsibility as parents now to educate ourselves in these things so we can then educate Nate.
Yeah.
Because I refuse to go, well, my parents didn't tell me about investing, so therefore I'm not going to invest.
Yeah.
You know, I refuse to do that. Like, I'm going to make Nate's life better than mine was by helping him make smart decisions, and I'm going to force myself to educate myself on that.
Yeah.
And like our share portfolio that we started last year is going extremely well. At the end of this month, we'll get our next dividend. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Right? And again, these are only
passive income. You're not doing anything.
That's right. I'm like it's the same money that I would have had sitting in the bank whittling away to nothing as Australia prints more money, which is now actually doing something for me. And again, like I've only really looked into all of these things. Number one, having a child's a pretty big life-changing experience. And it's made me very introspective over the last 12 months, and it's brought out all of my ugly faults. It's brought out some of the positive things that I can do too, but it's really made me go, okay, it's time to thrive. It's time for me to level up, and I need to do that. It's not just about me anymore. It's about my kid. And leaving my job was, I mean, like even that. I still have people, like I'll go to like a friend's birthday party or something like that, and you'll be having a chat, and it's like, oh, like, so what are you up to at the moment? And they're like, oh, yes, it's working, doing this and that, and I'm like, what about you? I'm like, oh, I'm still doing the stay-at-home dad thing. You still get looks, like,
yeah,
huh? Like, you know, that's not normal.
Yeah.
You know, what are you gonna do for money? And I'm like,
you set yourself up in a way that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, I don't need a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing I've come to realise. Because like you were saying that you used to work really hard and then buy yourself a cool thing. I would work really hard, but all my stuff was consumption. I would buy alcohol, fast food, go out for fancy dinners. Like, that was my thing. Because I'm fortunate in that my mind's not wired in a way where I need stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this singlet's like 10 years old or something like that. I don't need a lot of stuff. Like, if I buy clothes, for example, it's usually workout gear, running shoes. You know, I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm fortunate that I don't, because I know a lot of people do. And like you were saying, like back when you were younger and you started earning good money, like you were going out clubbing 2 nights a week and whatever. And that's before really social media was a big thing. Now you're looking at kids these days, and you've got the cool kids out with their clubbing photos and their bottle service and like trying to live up to this image, which they can't. And that's why you're seeing so many like fake like Instagram, like you know how you can go and like you can pay money to go to like a set where you're on a plane and shit now. Like have you seen that stuff? So it's so superficial, and that's sort of stuff that if you're tuned into that and you look at that and you get that fear of missing out, that's the sort of stuff that's going to keep you a slave to money forever.
Well, there you go. There's two tips. Tip number one is you utilize YouTube to train yourself for free in something that you're deficient in.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is that negative influence that you're getting from social media. Get out of it. Get out of it. So there is lots of that, and that is not something that I had to deal with. You're right. I
exactly, and I think it's really tough on kids.
And because of the number. So if you had like a vast amount of real friends, you would have the same feeling. But most people don't. Most people have 1, 2, 3, 10 friends. And you might have 1 or 2 or 3 circles of friends, right? 3 are probably a max. You know, you might have your close school friends, your work friends, and you know, if you're really outgoing, you might have like a sports team group of friends or whatever. And then you really compare from those 3. So when you are on social media and you now have, 500 people that you're following on that, and now they're all showing you the good stuff that they're doing. Now, it might only be one person's on holidays, but now you're going, oh, I wish I was on holiday. And you've got 500 opportunities for that to happen.
And the thing is, it's not even the 500 people that you follow, but if you go on Instagram, you go on the search function, and you just scroll through the search feed, and they throw up stuff to you from people that are similar to people that you already follow, and then you see what they're doing, and you see the excess of the world, and you go, like, I want that. So, look, so getting back to what you were saying before, right at the beginning, about how do we as a society value positions in society that we really truly need, we've got to all change our mindsets on what's important to us. I can't remember if I said on the podcast last week, but one of the things that stood out to me about what was happening on mainstream media a week ago was you had the news headlines, and the first headline was about the Women's March. The second headline was about Christian Porter suing the ABC for defamation. And then the third one was about the Grammys were on. So we're going to dissect the best and the worst dressed at the Grammys. So how can you even be championing that as a news story after talking about the Women's March? Like, you're literally talking, like, the Women's March was about trying to get equality and protection and just the basic human rights that everyone should be... should have in our society in Australia. That's what that was about. And then put up in lights with the same thing. You don't judge people on their appearance at the Grammys. Like, and again, any of you out there who was interested in that news story, you're a fucking idiot. Like, why should you care? It is just pageantry.
And it's not for the men either. Like, this is not a male construct. No. The men are wearing the same thing.
They're wearing a suit.
That Carl Stefanovic, I was thinking about that.
That was
so if you don't know... There was this has been in the news before. And women on the Today Show, or some of the hosts on the Today Show, were getting criticised for what they're wearing. You know, someone would say in the comments, oh, you wore that blue dress, on Monday, now it's Thursday and you're wearing it again. And as a silent protest, it is a genius. He needs more credit for this. Carl Stefanovic wore the same suit every day for a year. And nobody noticed.
No one said shit.
I think he was 3 days off to get it dry cleaned because it was getting rank. But no one said anything.
That's right.
So we've built that construct around it white, and we're putting this pressure on women that is stupid. It is ridiculous. And now, when you were outraged by reading that contradictory statement on the news, I'm not surprised by it because I know that that's how you sell, right? You sell your headlines, right? But you're right. As a society, we need to take responsibility for that and go and say, hold on, I'm not going to put any more value into this. I'm not, I'll enjoy the movie. I don't think someone necessarily needs, that millionaire does not need a televised award show. Have you, like, no one watched our salespeople one? No. That wasn't televised, I've won awards, you've won awards.
But even
No
like,
one
I
cares.
don't mind if they have an awards show because again, like music, for example, is something that is international and everyone listens to it, and quite rightfully so. People who do really well in their fields, they should be celebrated. I'm okay with that. But again, if you had a Nobel Peace Prize winner, for example, and I don't know, and again, maybe I could be wrong here. Put it in the comments if I am. I'm sure that when a woman wins the Nobel Peace Prize, that ABC News isn't going, oh, can't believe she wore this in her acceptance speech.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's a different thing, right? So we're basically saying that with artists, because they put themselves out there every single day, we are not only rating their music or their artwork, we have to rate them as how they present themselves and as human beings. So anyone who puts so much stock in what people look like, you're sort of adding to the problem, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you
We're supposed to be moving away from that.
That's right. We're supposed to be leveling up as a culture. And the thing is, things like the fashion industry, for example, they are one of the most insidious sales exploitative
slave
industries
driving
on the planet.
Yeah.
So what do they do? Not only do they employ people from third world countries at less than nothing wages to make these clothes, they sell them to you for over the price. Not only that, like, funny how every season the fashion changes and the media comes out and tells you that what you bought 3 months ago, shit, go and buy this new thing to get you into that FOMO thing where you need to have it to fit in.
Yep.
So
you're gonna waste.
Yeah. The waste thing is massive as well. Like, I can't remember what I was watching, but I think it was the Chasers War and everything, but they were talking about the amount of waste that comes from people's disposable clothing, because now clothing's so cheap, people just throw it out all the time, so there's huge amounts of waste. So it's an environmental issue. And like, the irony of these people showing up at like some prestigious fashion awards show in Paris, where they're like, oh, we're anti-fur. Look how good we are as people because we're anti-fur. Like, it's a disgusting industry, but people champion that industry. We need to look at that stuff and go, what is this designed to do? It's designed to sell your product. It is designed to make you feel worse about yourself so that you go and buy their thing because that's what's going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
It's just sales. And the thing is, that's how people get trapped in working jobs they don't like for their entire lives, and they can never financially get themselves ahead. I freaked out when I left my job. Like, I was earning good money, and I was going from earning good money to no money. And we were going from being a dual income household to a single income household that has then had a child brought into it. So there was a big part of me that was like freaking out, going like, oh, we're going to just like barrel through our savings, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then it's like, so I've got Nate in daycare, right? And Nate's in daycare 2 days a week. And it's just good for him because good for socialization. They learn heaps of stuff. He really enjoys it there. It's also good for me because it gives me a break, but also lets me do stuff around the house, projects and stuff like that, which again, normally I'd pay someone else to do because I don't have time. But I can do those things. But then you look at daycare and you go, it's a false economy. So I'm not working, and because of the income that Amanda and I make as a family, we get the childcare subsidy. And the childcare subsidy subsidises about 75% of our daily rate.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, the more you work, the less subsidy you get. So the more money you make, the less subsidy you get. The childcare centre that we send them to is $105 a day total. And we pay about $25 a day to send him there. If I worked full time, let's say 5 days a week, I would get paid zero childcare subsidy, and I'll be sending Nate 5 days a week, which is $525 just on daycare. Now you look at the economics of that. With the taxation system, it's not $505 I need to earn to be able to send him to daycare.
Yeah.
It's $1,000 because after tax, then I've got $505 to be able to send Nate to daycare. I don't know too many jobs where you just roll in and earn $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
And then you go, what's the point? I need to be earning $1,500 a week to actually make it worthwhile.
Totally cream on top.
That's right. Because again, like you were saying before, there's got to be a sacrifice somewhere. So now I'm sacrificing time with my son for money, okay, well now there's got to be a big, like, it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, again, I've done those maths and I'm like, it ain't worth it.
Yeah,
Like,
and look, everyone's case is different, but take stock of what is important to you and whether you can make shifts. But a lot of these people, a lot of you guys that are out there working full time,
mm-hmm.
when it comes to promotion time, I'm telling you, you will be miles ahead in life if you get time. If you buy yourself some time.
But also, if you're wherever you are now, if you can start investing now, you're actually buying yourself time by doing that.
Yeah.
Right? And like...
you can start with $100.
Yeah.
On the ASX, you have to start with 500. Just so people know, if you want to invest in Australian stock, the first trade has to be at least $500.
Yeah.
But if you want to start in crypto, you can start with $50.
Yeah.
Just start.
And that's the thing. And so, just with crypto, if you're buying into it, if it goes backwards, don't sell it. Just hold on to it. And obviously buy into the establishment ones. But again, go on YouTube and educate yourself in how the crypto market works.
Educate yourself. It's free. It's free. There's a wealth of knowledge out there for free.
That's right.
Anyone that's trying to sell you something, just say no. You don't need it.
Yep.
You don't need a course. You don't need credentials. You need knowledge.
That's
you need
right.
the knowledge. And the knowledge that you're going to get off YouTube, right? And then you're going to play it out don't do anything until it makes sense to you.
Yep.
And once it makes sense to you, just start teaching yourself, and then you'll go deeper and deeper into specific subjects. You don't need someone else to tell you how to do it. You don't need to pay anyone to tell you how to do it. You can do it yourself.
Yeah, and again, because unfortunately, with the way that a capitalist society is set up, oftentimes, like if you get like a financial advisor, for example, oftentimes they're not just trying to teach you everything that you need to do so you can get it all done in one session, then you don't need them anymore. They need you to come back and keep giving them money because that's what their business is.
Mate, I interviewed 5. They were worth less than I was.
Yeah.
And I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, you don't need it. You don't need it.
No, and that's the thing, like YouTube, there is so much knowledge out there for any matter of subjects now. Unless you're actually trying to get into it as a job and you need a piece of paper to say that you know about the subject, like there's no point in paying for courses or anything like that because all the information is already out there.
It's it.
Use what's out there. But the key is to start. And again, like getting back to the original crux of your question, we as a society actually need to figure out what we stand for, what we're moving past, what we don't, and we need to be consistent on these things. Because if you want actual change, you can't just apply the change when it suits you.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So we need to be consistent across everything. And again, if you're in a position where you feel like you're undervalued, tell your boss, I feel undervalued, and show evidence and do all the things that you need to do. And again, maybe when you're feeling undervalued, come to a compromise with your boss where you're not asking for more money, you're asking for more time. And then use that time for something good.
Build something outside.
Yeah. But like take personal responsibility to actually build the life that you want rather than having it dictated to you by all, because there's so many external forces working against us every single day.
Yeah.
There's social media, but there's traditional advertising. Like if you did a marketing degree, you would know that certain colours mean certain things. So that's why certain brands have certain colours to elicit certain psychological responses from us. Like there are people doing so much study into these things to get you to do something. You need to actually do a little bit of study into that stuff yourself and try and stop falling victim to it all the time.
Yeah. Be the master of your own domain.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right.
All right. That's about it. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. We'll see you next RDO.